Chapter 5. 3 weeks had passed since Trace's funeral. There wasn't much progress bringing anyone to justice. The death rattled Ingram, not saying he gave up. He just didn't seem to try as hard. I was beginning to believe everyone in West Willow had finally put an end to the zealous justice-seeking. But every time you yank out a weed, another one grows back in its place. The biscuits, the best item the lunch ladies made, released their scent. Some of the kids didn't like to slab the vegetable beef stew over the top. They opted to put it on a separate partition. Spencer placed a square of butter on his biscuit while it was still hot. Not much in life is better than melted butter on hot bread. After quickly grabbing a pudding, he trotted past the lunch line and joined RJ and Jewel in their usual spot.
"Did you guys come up with any ideas to hit Caveat?"
Spencer asked. RJ held a biscuit near his nose. After a calming inhale, he said,
"I got nothing."
He took a bite.
"I can't think of anything I'm willing to take part in,"
Jewel said.
"He is too skilled at deadly fighting,"
Spencer started.
"And we can't kill anyone,"
Jewel said.
"Yes, we get it. Anyway, he pretty much owns the media, court system, and the police. Even if we could use one of these to get him, he will kill us as soon as we find a weakness."
"What about an outside police source?"
Jewel asked.
"My father has tried many times to get the feds involved, but somehow Caveat has gotten them out of his hair. Dad can't know for sure, but he thinks our district representative and state senators are under the payroll."
"So what do you propose?"
Jewel asked.
"We have to find a weakness, something like my mom and your dad had discovered. His wallet.
"Okay, so we do that. Then we get killed too."
We have to hit him secretly. He can't know who is doing it."
"How?
RJ asked.
"We need to figure that out."
Like a vigilante?"
"Yes.
Spencer shifted forward and lowered his voice.
We can start out slow. Take out the little men, small operations like the drug smugglers and extorters. Hopefully this can slowly chip away at his income, taking his power."
"Well, how would we take out the little man?"
Jewel asked.
"Put them in jail or something."
"Hasn't your dad been trying that?"
"Maybe we could—"
Spencer started.
"But no killing."
Spencer pursed his lips and shook his head.
"Stop whining."
"I'm not whining, I'm just saying."
"Okay, guys, let's settle.
RJ put his hand on Jewel's forearm.
Maybe we could create our own jail?"
"Where would we keep them? How would we get the funds to feed them? How could we even capture trained armed thugs?"
Jewel asked.
"I'm just throwing out ideas."
"Hey, here comes Rachel,"
Spencer said.
"She must have something for us."
The stick figure wandered from the food service line, her canvas pack slung over one shoulder. She carried her tray at her waist, right where the pink hoodie and black skirt met. She kept her head down as she walked.
"Can I join you?"
"Sure."
Jewel said. Rachel sat down, staring at her plate.
"Dad said that more barrels have arrived."
Rachel whispered.
"Caveat hasn't done much in a while. Kept major operations shut down till now. Dad said his bandages came off today. Looked like someone vomited all over his face."
From time to time, certain barrels would arrive at the factory. These barrels had a special chamber welded into the center. Caveat used the plant to pack kilos into the secret compartments. Once done, soldiers filled the drums with various chemicals and inks. From the factories, drugs and other smuggled goods traveled all over the world. Rachel's dad had figured out that when the barrels arrived, Caveat's henchmen would be packing that same night. Wobbling his lips, RJ said,
"What if we can find a way to destroy the drugs when he packs them?"
"That's a good idea."
Spencer's face brightened like a computer screen flipped back on from its screensaver.
"You aren't against that, Jewel?"
"No, you may be onto something."
Jewel bit the tip of her tongue and rubbed her hands together.
"It can't be illegal to destroy something illegal."
"Okay, we need to see how the operation works. I will go tonight and record them packing the drugs. We can see how they ship them, how they pack them, and what type of stuff they are smuggling."
"I have a better idea,"
Rachel said.
"I should do the recording."
"Why's that?"
Spencer lowered his brow and gazed into Rachel's eyes. RJ tapped Spencer's shin with his foot.
"Piss on your pride. I know the layout of the factory. I know a perfect place to hide. Besides, if I get caught, I can tell them I was looking for my father."
Spencer looked away as she spoke.
"She's got a point,"
RJ said.
"Fine, you record it."
In keeping up appearances, Spencer tossed a chip at Rachel's face. He then laughed and called her some derogatory slang name. I never took the time to learn each generation's lingo, waste of my time. It's always changing and usually stupid.
The rest of us should research various drugs and see if there is some sort of chemical or something that can destroy them,
Spencer said.
Instead of a chemical to destroy the drugs, what if we used some type of acid on the secret compartment of the barrels? Even a small hole may let in enough ink. That can't be good for the drugs,
Jewel said.
Worth a try,
Spencer said.
We just have to figure out how to get it into the barrels.
Rachel ate the chip Spencer tossed.
Whenever they arrive again, I could slip whatever chemical into them during the day. They sit for a long time before they get packed.
They grew excited, nothing but teens feeling invincible, ignorant to the world's harsh realities. Their plan crept upon Caveat, more like a mosquito to an alligator than any real threat. As they plotted, Spencer's head yanked over to a mob of jocks laughing. He turned off his glee.
Good luck tonight. We'll be praying for you.
Jewel stood up.
We'll let our parents know about the information you have given us.
I hope your deity makes you feel better. I'd rather rely on myself.
No, I won't go out with you,
Spencer shouted. The cafe erupted with laughter. A couple of wrestlers walked over. "Emo-ho trying to bag the wrestling captain?" one of the guys said. Rachel kept her head down and ate her food.
Guys, just leave her alone,
Jewel said.
She didn't do anything to you.
She certainly tried.
Spencer bumped fists, forcing forth a synthetic glee. Spencer hated that facade, even though he did a marvelous job acting it out. And in spite of her eccentricities, whether part of an act or her personality, Rachel enticed Spencer like a blockbuster gimmick. I can't see why. Judo was handy for building Spencer's wrestling skills. He just had to watch out that he didn't use an illegal judo skill on the wrestling mat. That took discipline. Alone in the dojo, Spencer struck a red punching bag. Each blow pounded an echo into the far wall. He forced breaths through his tight lips and closed teeth. The punches welled more from eager nervousness than inner rage. Detective Ingram chatted with the sensei in the office. Jewel and Celeste changed as slow as any dame. The group had always arrived earlier than their session, so Ingram could teach them a few extra non-judo moves. Dirty tactics, mostly. A teen doesn't stand much of a chance against a thug fighting fair. All four earned black belts and competed in tournaments. Celeste had won several titles. Ingram had split his wins with a fellow West Willow resident, Caveat. The detective found fighting the mob boss a strange mix of relieving and stressing. He felt on top of the world when he won, but you wouldn't want to be around him when he lost. Caveat was a more gracious loser. I guess when a guy is a winner at life, he doesn't care about trivial competitions. He relished the challenge Ingram gave him at the tournaments. Sometimes I wonder if that was the only reason Ingram stayed alive so long. Inattentive to his surroundings, Spencer tightened the black belt holding his suit in place. He turned his head to the clock opposite the mirrored wall. Rachel will be getting there soon. I hope she doesn't do anything stupid. Don't be arrogant, Spencer. Spencer slapped his cheek. She will do a better job than I could do. She knows the place, but she's so small. She has no fighting training. If they catch her, I guess, since she's so small, she will be able to hide better. Just stop. An arm clamped around his neck. It zung his glottis a hint. Spencer rotated his hips, throwing Jewel to the ground. With a grip on her arm, he placed his foot on her neck.
Good one,
Jewel gasped. Spencer dropped to his back, Jewel's arm between his legs, palm twisted up. His falling motion flipped Jewel to her stomach. His legs lay on her shoulder blades, pinning her to the ground.
If I was a Caveat thug, what would you do?
Her right hand was free, but there was no way to use it for defense.
Hope you didn't kill me.
What do you think Rachel is doing right now?
He released his grip and pushed her away with his leg.
Probably leaving her house.
Jewel jumped to a defensive stance. Spencer stood to his feet, relaxed and non-combative.
What do you think she told her dad?
I don't think she has to tell him anything. He probably won't even be home tonight.
I guess. But what if something happens? What if she gets caught? Do you really think the soldiers will buy that she was looking for her father? I should have gone.
You've never been inside. Even if a soldier would never buy Rachel's excuse, the fact she knows the factory is reason enough for her to be there.
Jewel whipped a roundhouse kick Spencer's direction. Spencer swatted her leg upward as if he was shooing a bug. Jewel plopped to the mat.
You're getting better. Just watch your telegraphing.
Yeah.
Nice block,
Celeste said from behind. Spencer offered Jewel his hand.
Thanks, Jewel's got to get better at her headlocks.
Spencer yanked Jewel to her feet.
No, she needs to not try putting boys in headlocks.
Celeste moved to Jewel's back.
Your ponytail came undone. Let me fix it.
It's just a couple of hairs. I'll be fine.
Jewel glanced toward the mirrored wall.
It'll just take a second.
Celeste yanked the hair and pulled out a band. Jewel blushed as her mother gathered each stray strand.
You know it would be easier to do this if you grew it out.
That doesn't work for me.
Why? You look cute with long hair.
Suppressing a shudder, she shrugged.
There, done.
With scowled lips, Jewel walked over to Spencer.
You look like a samurai,
He whispered.
At least they're not cute.
Ingram came into the dojo with padded gloves, shoes, and shin guards. He was also well protected in the sensitive areas under his clothes. He was the only one of the group wearing a black suit.
Is everyone warmed up?
Jewel and Spencer are.
Celeste said. Ingram smirked a dry smirk.
Jewel able to get one on Spencer yet?
Celeste shook her head, brows lowered.
Hey, we can't take it easy on one another in here. You know Caveat won't.
You mean his men?
You tell yourself that. You don't call the brick thrown through a window evil, just the person who threw it.
He didn't do it. I just have to believe that.
Ingram scowled a shut-up face.
I just have to believe the contrary.
Celeste nodded. And I understand where you're coming from, nod. She grabbed Jewel and they moved to another area of the dojo.
We talked to Rachel today.
Spencer shifted subjects.
What did she have to say?
Ingram lifted his hand as if he were holding a gun.
She said Caveat is shipping out some stuff from the wrapping factory tonight.
That's too bad,
Ingram said.
There's nothing we can do about it.
Nothing you can do, or nothing you will do?
Spencer asked.
Both.
Ingram dropped his hand.
Why not?
The chief has been hounding me lately to leave Caveat alone, especially in light of what happened with Trace. I'm just tired of it all. Now, are we going to practice?
Spencer shook his head.
Chief Monroe is as corrupt as they come. You gonna listen to him?
I understand your anger.
Why don't you gather a few people and just go destroy his drugs?
Then we would be no better than Caveat.
Being the better person.
Spencer flailed up his arms.
To what end?
An end that actually gets him locked up, and one that doesn't get us killed.
Hit his plant, take out his drugs, do it in secret.
You can't do anything in secret around here. You know how many men it would take to accomplish that? Each night Caveat has dozens of armed thugs packing those things. I'm having a hard enough time gathering half a dozen clean cops to be there to protect you guys, if I finally hurt Caveat. So if I did raid the factory, best case scenario, we get thrown in jail.
Oh yeah, he going to take you to court and say, hey, Your Honor, this guy came and destroyed my drugs. Please put him in jail.
Pretty much. He just won't say I destroyed his drugs, even though the judge will already know that.
Whatever.
Settle down.
Ingram lifted his false gun again.
Okay, I'm a Caveat soldier. I have a gun pointed at you. What are you going to do?
Pull out my gun and shoot you.
Spencer snorted.
Come on, let's be serious.
Ingram said.
Fine.
Spencer exhaled.
Assess the situation.
Do it then.
If Caveat wanted me dead, the soldier would have pulled the trigger. So if a guy is pointing a gun at me, he probably wants me alive.
Spencer's voice was as enthusiastic as a rock star at a quilting convention.
Why?
Probably because you did something to piss him off and he either wants to teach you a lesson or pump me for information.
You don't need to use that tone, but yes, what do you do next?
If he wants info, I give it to him.
How can you tell if they want info?
They usually won't point a gun at me. They will have a stern yet friendly voice, and the soldier will be a red tie or higher.
Okay, so then I'm a blue tie and I have a gun. What do you do?
I see if there is an open direction to run.
If there is,
I run.
Spencer then chanted Ingram's blurb.
There is 50% chance the man will shoot. If he does shoot, there is a 50% chance his shot will hit. And if I do get hit, there is only a 50% chance the wound will be fatal. So the odds are more favorable if I run.
could you sound any more enthusiastic?
We've gone over this a billion times. Let's just get to the part where I'm cornered and kick you in the shin or groin.
The crescent moon beamed, blurred by the filmy skylight running the length of the wrapping plant. Barrels, spaced in neat rows, cast shadows on the floor. A dull hum reverberated throughout the factory. It was an irritating noise, an audio version of Chinese drip torture. The commotion of a normal workday, or at a minimum the banter of two, killed the sound. That area of the factory was used for storage. 3 levels of shelves surrounded an open patch of concrete. Graded catwalks and stairs led to each shelf. Camera in hand, Rachel scanned the factory, testing her angles. She tucked into a space near the roof trusses, on top a wooden crate. Everything she needed was readily available. No need to make unnecessary noises. She prepared carefully for the night. Didn't drink much, didn't wear a skirt, and brought some reading materials. She would be in one spot for some time. Footprints rapped, an echoed heel-to-toe cadence, a scouring roll accompanied. Rachel held her breath. Her heart knocked at the back of her sternum. She remained as still as possible, not as if she needed to be forcefully quiet. That damned hum was white noise to any shifts in size. A red tie and a blue tie strolled up to the barrels. The blue tie towed a wheeled cooler. "You ready for this?" the red tie asked. "Sure. We got a big load?" "Yep. I think we'll be here all night." Rachel beat her head. "What are we shipping?" "A little bit of everything. Pot, coke, meth, you know?" "Who's in charge tonight?" "Schultz." Men trickled into the warehouse. They bantered and joked. Rachel's heart settled like sediment from a jar of shaken mud water. It would take a substantial noise to draw away from the loud, foul language. Some of the thugs drank coffee, others beer. A lone blue tie popped lids from the 55-gallon drums. The rest teased the suck-up. He had a hard time with the ribbing and whined about being the only one doing any work. They taunted him all the more. You know those types. The ones that are super sensitive. If only they would just calm down, they'd probably get messed with less. An entrance opposite the garage door opened. The patter of loafers wandered toward the group. The workers stood stiff, silent, as a white tie strolled into their midst. Some of the black ties had never worked with the white tie. They feared their goofing off might have angered the supervisor, especially with his stern face. The gung-ho blue tie smirked. "Relax." Schultz's expression shifted with a quick grin. "Potter, don't you have those lids off yet?" The men laughed. The blue tie grumbled. "Are the trucks here?" Schultz asked, removing his suit coat, tossing it to a folding chair. He and Street usually alternated the drug packing duty. Since it had been so long since the last packing, they flipped a coin to see who had to come in. Schultz lost. "No, boss," a red tie replied. "Okay, hand me a beer then." Someone reached into a cooler and tossed him a bottle. Using the lip from a barrel, Schultz pried off the cap and raised his drink. "To the first day back to work. Can't say I didn't enjoy the break. Hopefully you guys haven't lost your touch." "It'll be a smooth night. The men have been aching to make some dough." A high-pitched reverse siren sounded, muffled behind the garage door. "Okay, the truck is here." Schultz clapped. "Let's whip this out. I didn't sleep today." Rachel pressed the record button. The pneumatic door drifted upward. It rattled the ceiling trusses. A forklift zoomed in from another wing of the factory and waited at the door. The driver slammed the forks against the concrete as if he were trying to rat-a-tat a newfangled beat. A blue tie wrapped a barrel at a harmonized pace. The men were as merry as a mob of students on spring break. With all the commotion, Rachel could have screamed at the top of her lungs, and no one would have heard. The trailer doors clanked as two soldiers opened them. The forklift unloaded wrapped pallets and scattered them throughout the warehouse. Some men cut away plastic wrap, uncovering narcotic bricks. Others finished removing lids from the 55-gallon drums. And the rest formed chains loading packages into the barrels. The group functioned like a veteran orchestra. If they would have focused their energy more constructively, I'm sure they would have turned out just fine. There is just something about shady schemes that breeds a robust work ethic. Rachel aimed her camera at a barrel's secret compartment. The center section of the drum, between the two ribs, formed a chamber. Gaps on the sides allowed liquids to seep to the bottom, and a threaded lid plugged the hole at the top. After a good peek of the chamber, Rachel browsed for anything else that could prove useful. The more information, the better. But in reality, 5 minutes of filming would have sufficed. An hour passed. With arms aching and eye-dents clammy, Rachel had recorded enough. She turned off the camera and waited for a safe exit. The hours drooled. The chain gangs clamored below, sputtering as the night sauntered. Rachel lay on her back. She rested a quarter on each eyelid. She liked the way the metal felt, calming, cooling. She grew weary, but did not want to let herself fall asleep. Who knows what sort of noises she would make? With a closed eyes nod, she drifted. The still-awake dream state waltzed with her consciousness. The skylight above shattered. Rachel's muscles convulsed. The quarters struck the crate. A dull wooden thud thumped near her ears. Spooked, her head jerked upward. Amid the caveat soldiers, a metal cylinder, the size of 5-gallon bucket, clanked on the floor. Shards of glass chimed in dissonance as the cylinder spun, rumbling like a drum roll. The soldiers whipped out their pistols and submachine guns. A low blow billowed a fog throughout the factory, like an exploding ashy volcano. Rachel put her hands to her face as the smoke enveloped her. She tried to muffle her coughs as she fumbled to grab her camera. The mere shock wave sent some mobsters reeling. Those near the cylinder examined themselves, expecting to have been shredded with shrapnel. They coughed, fleeing the smoke.
What's going on?
Rachel mouthed, heart racing. A black mass floated down from the ceiling, breezing away the fog, like a funnel cloud readying itself for a trailer park. Black leather boots struck the floor. A trench coat with large buttons draped a person underneath. A black fedora rested on the head turned away from Rachel. Loose sleeves and pants concealed any form of body shape. Soldiers pointed their weapons. "Who the hell are you?" someone said. The figure vanished. Gunfire riddled the factory. How or where the shot started was anyone's guess. Wild, uncontrolled bullets ricocheted. A nearby ping caused Rachel to drop her head. In the midst of the chaos, the figure resurfaced behind a soldier, grabbing him in a front-to-back tango hold. Right hand holding right hand. Left hand wrapped around midsection. The soldier became a human shield as his enemy forced him to fire on his colleagues. Thugs lurched as bullets drilled. Other soldiers sought cover and returned fire. Bullets riddled the soldier's shield. "Get me out of here!" Schultz yelled. He lay behind a barrel, blood flowing from his back. No one ran to his aid. The figure disappeared again. More soldiers collapsed, as if their spirits had been yanked from them like a rug underfoot. "Potter's dead!" one yelled. "Dunny, Lurch, and Phillips, too!" "How the hell?" "Damn it! We didn't shoot them. That guy didn't get him either." The trench-coated mass appeared behind another. As the soldier turned, the dark silhouette grabbed the man's weapon, twisting it toward him. The submachine gun blasted him to the floor. The figure vanished. The soldier ceased fire, twisting with panicked scannings. Simultaneously, more soldiers thwacked the concrete without additional fire. Everything went quiet. Everything but that electrical hum and Schultz's groaning. A lone black tie stared. Dropping his weapon, he darted for the door. "Help me, you coward!" Schultz screamed. The black tie flailed his arms as he neared the door. The silhouette appeared in front of him, delivering a jab to the jaw. The running man flopped to the floor like an unwanted carp on a rocky beach. He was out cold. "You won't get away with this," Schultz yelled as the shadow paced toward him. "Caveat will rip your innards out. Don't think no disguise will save you." Schultz glowered. His enemy stood over him. The dark individual lifted him by the tie. The mobster gasped for air. With a swing of an arm, a silver sheen rested over the associate's neck, some sort of knife. Rachel tried to look away, but her head wouldn't move. The knife slashed quickly. So quick, in fact, Rachel didn't know what had happened as Schultz fell to the floor. "You cut my tie! You will pay for this! So help me!" The figure walked away and grabbed a can of gasoline. Fuel splashed as the can shook. "You wouldn't dare!" the immobile gangster shouted. "Caveat will—" Schultz continued to yell a series of obscenities and threats as gas sprayed. At various times, the figure vanished only to reappear in a different location. Rachel did the best she could to video every action. She tried to capture a clear image of its face, but the fedora hid the mug. When finished dousing fuel, the figure stood over Schultz. "See ya in hell." Gas sprayed Schultz. He coughed and gagged.
I better get out of here.
Rachel slipped her backpack on her back and wriggled her way down through gaps in the shelving, as quiet as possible. She didn't dare put anything back in her pack.
I don't know who this freak is, but I'm not going to let him burn me up. Just be careful. Don't make a sound. There's an emergency exit on the first level. Okay. Here I am.
A pipe fell from the shelf.
Damn.
Rachel gaped at a dark hollow overshadowed by the fedora. A scrape of a match scratched and the flame rose, held finger and thumb like a poser lighting a cigarette. A vinyl mask peered from the shadows, flickering in and out. The vented mouthpiece formed a robotic grin. With eyes of a hornet, the reflecting flame stamped elongated pupils, akin to some reptilian beast. As the flame flickered, the statue's still saboteur seemed to nod. Rachel swallowed, lifted a hand, and waved with only the tips of her fingers, her expression pleading. The figure stayed still. Being a horror film buff, Rachel had watched plenty of masked maniacs on rampages.
Okay, Rachel. Back away slowly. Keep your eyes on this guy. Move toward the door. If he does anything, run. Don't panic. It won't do you any good.
Rachel stepped backward slowly. The masked face followed, head tilted like a curious dog watching its master belt out a bad tune. A protruding piece of metal hit Rachel's elbow. Her camera dropped from her hand. She picked it up. The figure's head jerked. The match in hand fell to the ground, and the ghost leered forward. In a state of panic, Rachel fled, flailing, screaming.
Please, don't hurt me. I didn't do anything. I'm not with them. I'll do anything you say.
The exact opposite she told herself she would do in such a situation. She focused on the fire escape as she sprinted. Her heart staggered, her lungs felt heavy, on the verge of hyperventilation. The figure disappeared. Whoosh! Flames flashed. Rachel glanced behind her. No one.
There's the door.
She panted. Only feet from the door, she struggled as a rag covered her mouth and nose. Thrashing her arms, she strained to land a blow that may stun her captor enough to relax the grip. Her panicked breaths gradually relaxed as a chemical aroma filled her lungs. Blackness surrounded her vision, slowly closing like the finale of an old slapstick cartoon. Rachel drifted into unconsciousness. Vigilante's first night.